Week 1 is finally here. Real football takes over in Cleveland Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Browns versus the New York Jets. Welcome to the Dawg House, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andy McNamara alongside Browns insider from WKYC Sports in Cleveland, Matt Florjancic. Matt, are you ready for some football, buddy?
Heck yes, I am. I want some real football to be played, and we got a little taste of it last night watching the Patriots and the Steelers, and it only kind of whetted the appetite. It's time for Browns football, and it's time to get this team rocking and rolling. The talk is done. Let's line it up. They're a best 11 against our best 11 and see who comes out with the win.
We might not be saying that at halftime if the Browns are down. We might be pining for preseason football still.
Hey, last year they were down horribly against the Steelers.
That's
and
right.
Everybody's like, man, Mike Pettine's not going to make it to halftime. And then all of a sudden, you know, the Browns go on a heck of a run, and, you know, if it wasn't for a last-second field goal, this team could have beaten the Steelers twice last year.
Yeah, hey, that's very true, and would have been closer to a playoff spot. So our Twitter questions for you today on the Dawg House, at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. Email thedawghouseshow@gmail.com. Dog spelled D-A-W-G is your Week 1 score prediction. Browns versus the Jets, and your 2015 Cleveland Browns record. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but first some news that, hey, on Monday we chatted about Terrell Pryor making the team and Coach Mike Pettine saying, okay, it's going to be a leap of faith. He's a project, but we like his upside. All of a sudden, out of the blue, he's cut. He's gone. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't make any sense because the guy they got can't help you for up to 6 weeks because he's got a high ankle sprain. And not only that, he's a running back. And what do running backs need to be most effective? Healthy legs. Robert Turbin does not have that right now. 900 career rushing yards, no rushing touchdowns in 48 games with the Seahawks. He's caught a couple touchdown passes out of the backfield. But bottom line is you give up on a guy who you said was a project and need to show you some stuff, a guy who you were running plays with during practice this week, and then you go out and you cut him for a guy that can't help you for 6 weeks. Totally blindsided everybody that, A, it was prior to go, and B, that the guy they got can't help him. So it's a very questionable decision. It has a lot of people scratching their heads and going, okay, we know we like former Seattle Seahawks, but do we like former Seattle Seahawks who can't help us for 6 weeks when it's a position of need now? Because if, say, God forbid, if Crow goes out or Duke goes out and gets hurt, guess what? It's the same situation you had that you did in San Francisco a few years ago where your two top backs got hurt and you had to go to fullback Chris Obanaya, and then he gets his, destroyed on a run up the middle by Patrick Willis and basically more than likely played the rest of the game with a concussion, but the team did not, officially say that because he was kind of stunned and shaken up after that hit. You're in the same boat right now. If something happens with Crow or Duke Johnson, you don't have anybody in the backfield anymore. At least with Pryor, you could have put him out there and had him run something. But if you don't have him and you lose any one of those backs, you have zero presence of a running game, which means the entire fate of the offense and a season opener lies on the shoulders of Josh McCown.
Which is exactly what the Browns wanted to avoid this season. It was all preaching about the running backs, the depth of the running back, the improved offensive line, and doing that. And you're still so much faith put in Duke Johnson, so much of that offense, Pettine and Farmer gushing over a third-round pick who played next to no time in the preseason and training camp with a concussion and hamstring injuries. That's just shocking. And the fact, too, Matt, that, okay, hey, was Terrell Pryor going to do anything Sunday? Was he going to do anything in 2015? We don't know. But he is a physical, athletic freak. You're telling me, if you want, and I'm not against necessarily getting Robert Turbin if you think he's a good long-term guy, but you're telling me you couldn't have cut one of the 4 tight ends you have? You couldn't have let Hausler go, Bibbs go, somebody else, and keep Pryor if you absolutely must have had Robert Turbin on that squad. Like it's like you said, there's the injured Seattle Seahawks. Remember Michael Bowie? He's still injured. Like, you just keep getting the scraps from Seattle. I don't get it.
Yeah, I understand that Seattle's pretty good team and a pretty good judge of talent. But remember that they had a receiver in camp a couple years ago named Chris Matthews. The Browns did. He was not good enough as an undrafted free agent to make a bad Browns team. He almost caught 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, made a heck of a lot of plays for the Seahawks, and had them in line to win their second straight Super Bowl if not for a bad play call. He wasn't good enough to play for this team, but he was good enough to go help Seattle almost win a Super Bowl. It boggles your mind because you need every healthy body you can get. You don't want to start the season with a bunch of injured guys. And what do? You get an injured running back, and you give up on a guy who you said had all the promise in the world, and you hyped him up all at training camp, and then you have the gall to say, well, he was only the 53rd man on the roster. I'm sorry, but you do not hype as Terrell Pryor as much as people talked him up, teammates and coaches included, and say he was just the 53rd man on the roster. That's not the 53rd man on the roster. That was a guy who could potentially help you, and you let him walk for a guy that cannot help you for almost half the season.
Matt, and maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me, and I heard I was getting tweets on this. And I thought, I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Okay, so Terrell Pryor brought in by Ray Farmer. Ray Farmer's suspension started Monday. He's out of the building and supposedly supposed to have zero contact with anybody. And now one of the guys he brought in, one of the projects, the highly touted Terrell Pryor, was cut. Do you think there's anything to do with Pryor getting cut and Ray Farmer not being in the building?
This could be a power play. I mean, Mike Pettin has Jimmy Haslam's ear. Mike Pettin was Jimmy Haslam's guy. Yeah. He did not leave the Senior Bowl until he had that man on the plane signing a deal to be the head coach of his football team. And remember, Ray Farmer's already on thin ice because he's already embarrassed the franchise having to go through this text message scandal. And regardless of what's happened in previous years to Jimmy Haslam's private business, it's still his team, and ultimately he doesn't need any more red flags on the organization that he spent over $1 billion on. This could be a power play to say, hey, give me guys that I think can help me long term rather than a project that I have to fix. And if that's the case, fine, but you better be right, because if Turbin doesn't do anything and say Terrell Pryor goes somewhere like, I don't know, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New England Patriots and tears you up and gets 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 100-yard game, there's going to be a lot of egg on your face. You're going to have a lot of questions to answer, and you're going to be looking for a job.
Man. You're listening to the Dawg House, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andy McNamara alongside Matt Fleur-Jancic. Tweet us your thoughts on what the score prediction is going to be for the Browns versus Jets Week 1 in New York, as well as the 2015 record. What record are the Cleveland Browns? And it might turn your stomach to think of that. What record are they going to finish with in 2015? On Twitter, at AndyMC81, at Matt Fleur-Jancic. Email the doghouseshow@gmail.com. So, Matt, let's get to Week 1 here. It is here. The Browns have Josh McCown under center. Johnny Manziel is going to be the backup despite some still elbow soreness, and Austin Davis will back up him in that third-string role. Zero real playmakers at the skill positions. Your initial thoughts on how this one plays out?
Well, I think for both teams it's going to be low scoring. I don't expect the Jets to come out and set the world on fire offensively. I think they're going to try to just go through their game plan and execute each play, because that's kind of how Ryan Fitzpatrick does his business, especially against the Cleveland Browns. We've seen him a few times, and he's beaten us a few times, so I'm looking for him to stick with what's made him successful against the Browns. Just, take what the defense gives you and not try to hit too many home runs and swing and miss and strike out and turn the ball over. So I think that's going to be what he's going to try to do. He's obviously going to try to take advantage of the playmakers he does have. A guy like Brandon Marshall is going to see the passes thrown his way, and then you look at the running backs, and you got Chris Ivory toting the ball, but don't expect him to get 35 carries in this game. He's going to split carries. They have a good rushing attack. They have a veteran offensive line, and their defense is pretty darn good. They have 7 former first-round draft picks. This is a good team. This is a better team than people give them credit for, and everybody can talk about, well, Ryan Fitzpatrick's not the guy they expected to start. I think that's actually a blessing in disguise for the Jets, because I think he's a better overall quarterback than Geno. Geno's still a project in my mind, a lot of athletic ability, but above the shoulders. He really hasn't held it together for a full NFL season. Ryan Fitzpatrick's a Harvard guy. He knows what he's doing, very intelligent, and he's going to at least put the Jets in good position to win. And if you want my prediction now, I'll give it to you.
All right, let's get it.
You're not going to like it. It's going to be New York Jets 17, Cleveland Browns 3.
3? Look
at what they did against Chicago in the fourth preseason game, and you could say, okay, it's a fourth preseason game. It's scrub against scrub teams, and they couldn't score a point, and they couldn't really move the ball effectively.
Oh.
And then you look at what they did against Tampa Bay, and you could say, well, they scored 31 points in the game that counts in the preseason. It's a bad Tampa Bay team that is out of sync offensively with a new quarterback, so you didn't expect them to set the world on fire. And defensively, everything's vanilla in the preseason, plus the fact that your quarterback came from that system, and he was basically an offensive coordinator on the field all week long, coaching guys through the game, pointing stuff out, how Tampa's going to defend. So he knew well what Tampa was going to do. He doesn't know the Jets quite like that. So, yeah, I personally think with a guy like Darrelle Revis locking down, receivers who aren't the greatest and aren't your blazing playmakers, yeah, you're going to be in some trouble.
Matt, if the Browns just score 3 points, I may just break the TV. That might be it. If only 3 points. If they come out and put up an effort like you're describing, which is not far-fetched, unfortunately, I think there's going to be just absolute panic amongst Browns fans, amongst the dog pound. I just think it'll be total chaos. But you bring up good points too with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. What people don't forget or don't remember sometimes is, okay, hey, Chan Gailey, now the OC in New York, was the head coach in Buffalo when Fitzpatrick was there. They know each other's offense perfectly. That is a better case scenario for the Jets than Geno Smith starting, because Fitzpatrick come right in and smoothly run an offense he has known for years, whereas for Josh McCown...
Yeah, 100%. You're
that's it, right?
Right. It's a good fit for them to have Fitzpatrick as their quarterback, better than Geno right now.
Yeah, and for McCown, he's still learning DiFilippo's system. The other side of it, too, against that stellar Jets defense, we don't know what type of play caller John DiFilippo is as an offensive coordinator. No, nobody knows, because he's never done it before. So is it going to be overwhelming? How do you balance out? All right, you can't throw to one outside because of Revis. You can't throw to the other outside because of Cromartie. Buster Screen's going to be floating around over the middle. And you have a front four that is nasty and can get after the quarterback. Like, I don't see the space in the passing game to throw the ball. Like, maybe some dink and dunk over the middle is the best you can hope for. And by the way, hey, you want to run the football? Well, this is the fifth best running defense in the NFL last year, so I don't see the Crow really busting free either.
Yeah, nothing gives me confidence about what the Browns can do against this defense. They're devoid of playmakers in the passing game. They have basically one running back that's healthy and ready to go, and they're going up against a defense that's just nasty and has two really, 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 really good corners. I'm not liking the chances. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel good, and nothing feels good about this week. And it started on Monday with all the off-the-field troubles, and you just start looking at the coaching staff and the players that are going to be on the field, and you just don't see it. I don't see it. It's going to be an interesting Sunday for sure.
Matt, do you want my prediction? Do you want my official Browns-Jets prediction right now?
I can guess that it's going to be 17-10 Browns.
Oh, that is close, but incorrect. So you went 17-13 for the New York Jets. I say 16-13 for the Cleveland Browns. Yes! Yes! 16-13 for the Browns. How they're going to do that, I haven't really figured out that yet. I just think the Jets are also a mess in a lot of ways. It is Todd Bowles' first game as a head coach. I think there'll be some mistakes there, and that the Browns I think there has to be something said that in the locker room, that whole team has to know that nobody thinks anything of them. So I think Brian Hartline has a big game. I think Gabriel and Hawkins light up a couple big plays, and that the Crow goes for a touchdown and rushes maybe 70 grinding out type of yards. So that I think 16-13, a dirty, ugly, defensive battle.
Cleveland Browns type win.
Yes. And you know what? Wouldn't you take that? Especially at their lack of success for opening days. Like, that's the other thing they're up against.
1-15 in the previous regular season openers. I'll take the win. I just don't know that it's going to be there.